This is the ATI.
Especially after we spoke with your manager, Dr. Egon Casanova, Derek Hankins, previously.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
So let's kind of get started in talking about, really what your fandom is. And because that's really, everybody's dreams and aspirations, they kind of start there, especially if they're going to be pursuing a wrestling career. And let's just talk about how you came to know what professional wrestling was, some of your first fandom and that sort of stuff, what you were watching, who you were following, that sort of thing.
So I really, I never got into wrestling until I think it was around 2008. Derek actually got me into it himself. He had gotten a Shawn Michaels DVD for Christmas, and we were at my grandma's house, and he's like, well, I want to watch it. And I'm like, and I really don't know what this is, but sure, we'll go with it. And he fell asleep halfway through, and I just kept putting in the DVDs, and I fell in love with it instantly. So, I mean, it was just,
that's awesome.
From there on, I was buying the DVDs myself. I was watching every single Monday night, and I think at the time, like ECW had came back, the newer ECW, and I'd watch that on, I think it was Tuesday nights.
Right, yeah.
And I just loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's about the time that what you mentioned, that they relaunched ECW, which would later, I guess, crash and burn and become NXT, or what we know of NXT, that is. But I think at that time they were airing on Sci-Fi, which was kind of a strange channel to be airing on. But that's, a lot of people might be familiar with that time period because that's when CM Punk got introduced to the WWE fans, was through ECW itself, the WWE's version of ECW, that is. Not your mom and pop's ECW from back in the 90s, but an earnest attempt somewhat, I guess.
To ECW party, baby.
Right, for sure. So, it's fascinating that Shawn Michaels is the DVD that kind of drew you in, because, that's one of the first matches that I recall ever seeing is Shawn Michaels against Razor Ramon, WrestleMania 10, the iconic ladder match over the Intercontinental title. And that today is still yet one of probably my top three favorite matches without question. But Shawn Michaels is a legendary worker and one of the best to ever do it.
I still love to watch him work. I just watched a YouTube video the other day. He's been working with Jake Paul, and dude, that was some of the most entertaining 10 minutes that I've actually watched in a while.
Logan Paul,
Logan Paul, not Jake Paul. My bad, I got him mixed up. Not the boxer. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And he's been holding his own too in WWE, actually, surprisingly enough.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Him and Pat McAfee are two that I'm actually really surprised have turned out doing well and actually proving themselves.
I love Pat McAfee, man.
He's great. Yeah, he spices up everything he's involved with. I had noticed earlier in Pat's career, whenever he was a punter for the Colts, of course, all pro punter. I remember he infamously, he got drunk and missed the game, and he was missing. He got drunk and passed out next to to the river or something like that. But a few games after that, when he came back, he did the Razor Ramon chest bump after he kicked a monstrous pump. I'm like, this guy is a fucking wrestling fan, clearly. And it's funny enough, he started getting involved with NXT and that stuff and the pre-shows with WWE. But yeah, he's somebody that's taken to it very well also. And obviously SmackDown commentating. He's got a little bit of a break right now with college football, but yeah, Pat's a really cool guy. Very entertaining. So Ben, what's some of the other people that drew you into wrestling? You talked about Shawn Michaels initially. Kind of who were you watching whenever you were tuning in, whether it was for Monday nights or the ECW show? Who were the guys that you were really drawn to?
I liked Kane a lot. Zack Ryder, whenever he was breaking in, he was always really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Of course, John Cena. William Regal, I really enjoyed his work. He, especially working in ECW, like helping out the new guys. I think he had a stable at the time, and it was like him, Ezekiel Jackson, and I cannot remember the other person that was with him, but just seeing him work and kind of, I guess, getting back into the ring, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, and William Regal, of course, another legendary worker for sure, man. That's a guy to definitely take notes on.
Oh yeah, Triple H at the time. I mean, that was him and Shawn getting back together, because I think if that was 2006 they got back, and then like 2008, I don't know. They've came back and forth like 15 times together. So
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
but every single time it's always worth it. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it was I can't remember what show it was on. I want to say it was the Survivor Series. Might have been 2008 or 2009. It was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, the Hardy Brothers, and CM Punk were a team. And that was actually kind of a strange team in many respects to be together. But they were way over with the crowd and everything. And that was kind of one of the first, I guess, kind of signals that the torch was starting to be passed off to CM Punk, and he was starting to get some, a movement under him, and started to get big pushes in WWE specifically. But yeah, like Triple H is obviously one of the best to ever do it as far as, between the bells. I mean, not that he's a slum on a promo either, but
He's a Blade.
Yeah, Blade Trinity, man. Iconic role.
He's holy then,
Yeah, no doubt. So at what point, Ben, did you get interested in thinking like, I could do this, I want to do this? Where did that light switch flip for you?
Probably I'd say my junior year of high school. It just kind of hit me that at some point after, like once I turned 18, I was going to start looking for a place to go. And I had reached out whenever I was, probably 17. There was a wrestling school actually, I think like 2 blocks from my parents' house, but it actually ended up closing, and I never got an email back. So,
yeah,
it wasn't until I think college I'd left John A. Logan and was working the summer at my uncle's furniture store, and a guy that had worked there previously had asked me if I ever wanted to be a wrestler, because he was a wrestler himself, and he ended up inviting me up there to IWAU and Alney, and that's kind of where I got my start.
Hell yeah. So whenever you say you got your start, like what did that look like? Were you actually just going to classes, or were they just kind of showing you stuff before the matches, in between matches, post matches? Like, what did that look like?
So the way that IWAU is going at the time, so Alney is 2 hours. I think it's right on 2 hours, maybe 2 hours and 5 minutes from my house. And it was, I want to say 4 to 5 days a week. So it was,
okay.
I think Wednesday they had a free show, and then on Friday they had a paid show. So the other 3 nights it was training. So Monday and Tuesday was training, and Thursday was training. But then the other 2 shows I had to work security, and the other 2 people that I had in class with me, they were refs. But I did that for a year and a half, and it was, I mean, it takes a toll, like on your your vehicle and your life at the same time. Because I was working 5 a.m. in the morning till 5 p.m., going home, taking a shower, and then immediately going up to training. And that was, I mean, like I said, a 2-hour drive. So, yeah, not getting out of training till 10:30, almost 11, coming home, sleeping for 3 hours, and going right back to work. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like if you really go into it, man, you got to be all into it, It seems
It's a grind for sure. And, it's that you hear kind of the weekend warrior type chatter being bantied about sometimes when it comes to wrestling in particular, because, that's a lot of starting up in the independents, those are your opportunities, especially when you got to work, such as a person in your case. But you hear that story a lot with a lot of various wrestlers, even people that were in Ring of Honor, something with a little bit more notoriety and was on television. A lot of wrestlers but still had day jobs, or a lot of people don't know this, but, like a lot of, like Ian Riccaboni, for example, announcer for Ring of Honor, he's got like a day job. Like, it's hard to believe, but, wrestling doesn't always pay the bills too, especially on your way up. It's really hard to make money. And I know that there's a lot of facets that go into wrestling outside of just what you guys do between the bells, so you got to have I say you got to have, but I guess you don't necessarily, especially early on. But what I find fascinating about you, Ben, is you've already got a character, you got a gimmick, and it's unique, and that's something that's definitely at least going to get eyeballs on you initially. And just kind of tell me how you came to this character String Bean and what the early imaginations of that is and how the character's evolved over time.
So I never wanted to be under a mask. That was never ever part of what I wanted to do in professional wrestling. After I'd left Alney, after I'd left IWAU, I'd gotten myself a ring. I just bought a house. I had a pole barn. I put the ring here in the pole barn, and then one of the trainees from IWAU who had graduated years prior to whenever I was there, he actually took over my training here at my own house. And when we went to SNPW, where I'm currently at, they were going to allow me to start wrestling there. So instead of me going out there just being myself or whatever gimmick I decided to choose, he said, well, why don't you get a mask, go out there for a couple shows so that you can get, your footing, make sure that, everything's crisp. And that's how you don't want to, don't want to go out there and look a fool and then people remember you as being that shitty guy. Yeah.
Right.
So I went on, I think it was Mask Manic. I was looking at just all these different masks, and I came across it was like a pumpkin mask, and I'm like, oh, that'd be funny. My uncles call me String Bean, and they joke with me because I'm 245, 50 pounds and 6'5". Like I'm nowhere near String Bean, like nowhere near. So they always made like fun of me because I wanted to wrestle.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, shit, I'll come out and I'll be String Bean, and it just
there you go.
Tony was like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. Oh yeah. Like I went out and made a shirt, put this like String Bean, cartoonized String Bean on the front of it, had the black tights, like green socks that came up almost to my knees. And, I went out for a battle royal and it just kind of stuck. I came out and I'd stroke my stock and walk down.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, after a couple battle royals, I had a bunch of kids waiting there doing the same hand gestures and their parents just staring. And it was the best moment ever.
That's hilarious.
Best moment.
Yeah.
And
man, that's fantastic.
It just, from there, it kind of progressed. Like I went from literally just doing battle royals to I ended up tag teaming with one of our other buddies who trained here at my house, and we became Dragon and the Beanstalk. He was a dragon luchador gimmick. And then he ended up moving away to Florida, and then it was time for my singles career. Started doing singles. I mean, I'd be the guy they'd put in like a 6-man tag or a random tag match, or every now and then it'd be kind of just I did whatever I was needed to do at SNPW, and then eventually now like I got a hold of my cousin Derek, and I think this was a year and a half ago. I was like, hey, like I want to turn heel. They didn't let me turn heel whenever it was me and Dragon. When I come back, like let's do this. Like after COVID's done, like I want to come back as a heel. If I can convince Sam to let me do it, like let's do it. And he said, okay. Yeah. So now it's went from being this guy who is always the comedic wrestler. Now it's a little bit more serious. Right. And I still do comedy, but it's I'm finally getting to branch out and actually do something that I've wanted to do for a while.
Yeah, so I've noticed like with some of your vignettes and stuff that you guys have online, you kind of do almost the Frankenstein's monster type treatment where Dr. Egon Casanova, Derek, is obviously your manager or whatever the case is, but you're his greatest creation. So, and I've noticed a little funny, shtick here and there. Like, for example, I think it's like or at least it looks like a little Heineken keg, like a mini keg. And you've got like your secret serum that you're toting around and stuff like that, and just various videos that you guys have done to kind of spice up and cut promos and that sort of thing. Are you guys just doing this because you need to do it to get your name out there, to get some familiarity, to build out the character, or is this something that you're contributing toward the SNPW folks? They're sharing it on their social media. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So the keg, I was doing the keg probably 3 years ago. I just wanted to, I wanted to come out with like Miracle Grow, and
Gotcha.
I'd had a Heineken keg from a party like at my buddy's house like 5 years prior. I took the keg with me, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to duct tape around it, and it's going to be like what they did on Space Jam. Like the guys had to get back in the game, so they had to make that secret juice. So I pretty much just did the same thing that they did, and I would come out and I would drink it, and I'd spin around, and then I'd blow it out of my mouth, and that was kind of like the power up. But then whenever, Egon came into the equation, then we transitioned into a weed sprayer. So then in the weed sprayer, it's hyped up Miracle Grow with whatever crazy elixir that he's put in it. And then it powers me up, but it blinds and hurts any of my opponents because they're not the god of the garden.
There you go. It only works for the god of the garden.
Oh, yeah. So, we try to promote it and we try to tell people, because then the more that the fans can catch on that, oh, this is what powers him up, they can be like, no, he can't get that. We had a couple come to the show with an actual thing of weed killer to spray me down with as I came out. And we used that the entire time. We would never get near it. And anytime we did, like, I think it was LVK, the guy that I'm in a feud with right now, he actually grabs it and chases me around the ring with it. And I'm looking at freaking out. And that's what I love about it, is the fans are so diehard there that they're wanting to get involved. And not in a bad way, like they're not trying to tase you and stuff, because I've seen that at a show. But they actually care. And on their social media platforms, they make it very known that they do not like Derek and I at all.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, are you guys still under a suspension? I know you guys recently were served one, right?
We were served one in, I believe it was, August. Yeah, August. No, this next show I think it's next Saturday, we will be there, and we will be back for my title, my light heavyweight championship.
Back to claim the throne.
Yep. And I didn't care at the last show. I decided that when LVK became victorious, that I was going to make myself known, and I unrooted my boot straight into his shoulder. So that he can never hold my championship up.
There you go, man. Straighten his ass out. Do. Show him who's boss. So, where's the promotion based out of?
Crossville, Illinois.
Where do they run shows at?
Crossville, Illinois. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not familiar with it. What's it close to?
I think it's roughly probably like an hour from Evansville, maybe a little less.
Okay.
From Evansville, Indiana.
Okay. Yeah. So a little bit there on the eastern side of Illinois.
Yeah.
So I knew that Derek had mentioned that you guys were primarily operating out of that rig, and I asked him whenever he was on the show what the possibility or interest is of you guys spreading out to other promotions. Is that something that you guys are still mulling over or considering? I know, depending on the state, obviously you got to go through some red tape sometimes. You have to have a license or updated medical records, physical on record, that sort of stuff. Have you guys explored wrestling in other places?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've wrestled in Texas myself. That was 4 or 5 years ago. I wrestled in San
Okay.
Antonio on top of a bar.
Oh, wow.
Tennessee, I've got places in Tennessee that we can go work. Indiana's got a couple shows. Envision, and then the Berklow shows that they run. But I think that's like 4 times a year, and I think both the guys are hurt right now, so they've not really been doing much. But I know Derek and I have talked about St. Louis. We'd really like to get up there. We've got a lot of buddies that run there, and that would be a really fun scene to get into. But
Yeah.
I'll go wherever. I mean, my goal is I would love to work for Hood Slam out in California. Like, absolutely.
Okay.
Like, it seems like a fun company. Like, they've got the Stoner Brothers, they've got Drugs Bunny. It's over the top gimmicks. It's kind of like,
Right.
it's got that Chikara feel, and that's a place I always
Okay.
wanted to work before they got shut down and stuff. So,
Right. So Chikara, for anybody that's listening, if you don't know what that promotion is or was, a lot of wrestlers that you actually see on TV today either were from it or worked in it for some period of time. So, Brody Lee, he worked in it back in the day. I believe Cesaro worked in it. Eddie Kingston, yeah. Bryce Rinsberg, one of the referees for AEW, was in
I think
Chikara.
Quackenbush was like one of the main dudes there too.
Yeah, I believe so. I know I'm forgetting some people, but those are some of the more prominent names that you might be familiar with if you guys watch the product. Anybody that's watching or listening right now today, there are some people out there that Claudio Castagnoli, which is Cesaro, he's in AEW now, but that's a person again that's kind of graced across that promotion back in the day. So now present day, with some of the wrestling opportunities that you're getting, I did see, and we kind of helped share whenever you guys had this show in Tennessee, but it was like a beach party of some sort. Was that in Memphis, or am I misremembering? How did that go?
It was
for you guys.
So that's a very interesting.
Wild?
So the day before we go down, the promoter sends out a text. Not a text. He sends out a messenger to me and is like, "Hey man, so a pipe burst in the pool, and we don't have a pool now. So I just don't think that we're going to be able to do anything." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you've still not even sent me the address to this place. So,
Yeah.
like, are you still going to try to have it without the pool, or what's going on?" And he was sketchy, like absolutely sketchy. So I'm getting a hold of anybody on the flyer that I recognized. A couple of those guys actually gave me the actual address. So Derek and I, we said, screw it. Like, we've already bought a hotel for it. We're still going to go down. So we go down and nothing. Like, guys ghosting us. So 3 of the other people that I knew, they were like, "Hey, we're having a show. So no matter what, you'll still get paid, and you've got a place that you can come have a show at." So we actually went. We performed for them. It was a fun time. We got paid. We got paid pretty damn well. A lot more than what we were going to get from that other guy. And
Nice.
that other guy actually called one of the guys at the party and was asking him, I guess, what was kind of going on, and he just blew up and put the guy on blast. And then the guy was yelling at me and telling me that he never booked me. And I'm like, "I'm on your poster. You don't put people on your poster if you're going to sit there and then tell them that they're not booked." Like, no, like the whole party was a sham. It wasn't real. Like, come to find out, I think I think he was just trying to make money and then use the pipes burst to, like, not reimburse people's money and stuff. I don't know. I won't go back to that place. Like, that's just not something I'm going to do again. No, and the first time I went down there, I had an absolute blast. The first time I went down. And yeah, I won't do that again. So we ended up wrestling in Mississippi for the first time. So.
Oh, wow.
And we had a good time. So
Well, that's not too far of a drive, depending on where you went in Mississippi as well.
no,
So this is the
I
show
think
that you
it
picked up
was.
on?
Yeah, I think it was just like 50 minutes. 50 or it could have
Yeah,
been
that sounds
30. It was
about right.
30 to 50 minutes like south of Memphis. So it wasn't bad. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like I think we had an hour drive back to our hotel. So
Yeah, you
no, it
can't
wasn't
beat
bad at
that for
all.
sure.
No. No.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that show in particular didn't work out, but it sounds like it worked out for the better for you in the long run anyways. You got paid more and you got another
Oh
place
yeah.
that you can go to in the future for sure.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's another thing that folks uh, are going to encounter if this is something that you're aspiring and you're going to go work indie shows, that sort of stuff. Make sure you try and do your homework as best you can. I know that even in Ben's case here, he had a previous good experience, and then the second time they kind of stiffed him here and were being sketchy. But yeah, just because you have one good experience too doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to pan out for the next time that you come in to contact with these promoters and stuff like that. But yeah, you just the best you can do is just try and network around and make sure that people aren't going to screw you because. It takes a little bit more than a hot dog and a handshake to get paid these days,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, especially gas prices, everything else, you have to pay for a hotel, especially if you're traveling that far, So I know there's a lot of good places up in St. Louis. Josh and I have good enough fortune to be connected with Joey O'Farrell, who runs the Grandel Wrestling up there in St. Louis. And he works a lot with like Glory and Team Ambition up there in
Yeah.
St. Louis, which is Davey Richards School that he has
Yep.
there. And lot of good wrestlers coming out of that school. We saw a lot ourselves.
A lot of great talent. Yeah.
For sure. Moses, the deliverer, we sponsored his match against Dak Draper that they had at that show up
Okay.
at the pageant here a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so Moses is a really good guy. He ended up on the SmackDown show in St. Louis. He was one of the
Oh,
people
really?
that Braun Strowman plowed over. Yeah, actually,
Okay.
most of those
That's
people were
fun.
Team Ambition people that were on there. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
So, but Moses is really good. He wrestles in St. Louis all the time across various promotions, and I'm
Yeah.
always
I
seeing
think
him doing stuff.
Yeah, there's what, I think at least four that are up in that area that I know of at
Yeah,
least.
as far as schools, I'm not real sure, but as far as promotions, yeah, there's several
Yeah.
different ones. Joey was naming off several different ones that I wasn't even familiar with, but I know like one promotion that kind of comes through St. Louis pretty routinely is like Dynamo Pro, and they
Yeah.
usually they have something worked out with forehands where they do the matches either at they were doing them out. I think they at one point did them outside of forehands.
Yeah, I think
But
so.
I know that they started doing them like at the athletic club too. So I'm not real sure if
Yeah.
there's like a consistent place that they're doing them, but they're usually pretty luchador heavy matches. That they
Yeah.
have at least half the card is, which in and of itself is its own style. So that leads me to my next question for you, Ben. Is there a particular style that you try to focus in on with your wrestling when it comes to the technical aspects of it? You being a bigger guy, 6'5", that's even big compared to a lot of other, like if you were to walk into AEW, you'd be one of the biggest people there. Specifically, 6'5" is a pretty good height to be at in the business. So I'm sure I would assume that you're leaning toward power moves. Talk to us about kind of what your technique is that you try to, as far as honing your craft and what you do between the bells.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of stuff that I've taken from Kane. Umaga was one of the big ones I used, especially for being a heel as String Bean. That was more like I do the Samoan Spike, which I call the Green Thumb. I've done the running power slam before. I've been starting to use like, I guess kind of like a jumping like bonsai drop, but it's off the like second rope in the middle of the ring. Yeah, I'd say it's more of like a power moves more than anything else. Like I'm not like super technical or anything like that, but I mean that's just kind of the way I guess more of the way I was trained with it. So
yeah, for sure. And there's nothing wrong with that. Wrestling needs those people that kind of take on the power move sets, if you will.
yeah.
I don't know if there's certain styles that you feel like even whenever you're having matches that you pair well with. I would assume, probably lighter opponents that want to do a lot of the flip, flop, and fly. Maybe luchadors and those types of folks probably enjoy having you for a base in a wrestling match. Is there particular styles that you feel like you gel with pretty well in the ring?
I'd worked Joey O'Reilly, and he kind of does a lot of those flips and stuff. And we had a
Yeah.
really good match. Like he posts very well. He knows exactly what he's doing, and it worked out really well. We did a wheelbarrow facebuster, and I mean it was flawless up
Yeah.
and then straight down, and it looked beautiful. And it's stuff like that that makes the match go a lot smoother, and I guess can kind of get the crowd more invested, because you don't want something extremely sloppy. You don't. And I've been in the positions where it doesn't look the best, and then you feel like shit after. And you don't want that. It just
Yeah.
you just don't want that.
Whenever you're having a good match and things are going your way, I'm sure that you could probably speak to this, but I'm sure that kind of some of that adrenaline dump that you get in that positivity, it helps you work through, some of the pains that you might feel, for example, so a lot of people, the big offense that I think any wrestler takes, and any wrestling fan for that matter, is the word fake. There's while things might be scripted and outcomes predetermined, it doesn't make you landing on that mat feel any better.
No, it doesn't.
Still athletes, man.
And I know I've seen studies, like some of the impacts that you see in wrestling is like getting hit by a car at like 45 miles an hour in some cases.
Oh yeah,
like
I think
there's some serious toll that your body takes in certain situations.
Yeah, I think it's like micro fractures, or I can't think of what exactly it is, but I know it's like something they heal overnight or something like that, but it's still enough to where it's like a 30-mile-per-hour car wreck every single time you get slammed. Or it's either every time you get slammed or it's by the end of a match. That's pretty much what it owns up to.
Yeah.
But
and another thing that people don't realize too is, I guess, over time, I would know from experience, so this is just me asking, and being a fan, I've heard this a lot, is you kind of condition yourself. Your body conditions itself once you're wrestling. A thing that looks as basic as like running the ropes. Like you almost have to kind of build up a callus for that not to hurt over time. Is that right?
Oh yeah. I mean, the ropes, a lot of people get rope burn whenever they hit the ropes continuously. And that's, especially so I was out for a year with an injury, and when I got back in the ring, like hitting the ropes the first, couple days being back in there, I mean, it sucked. Especially because once you've done it so much, like right there, that ridge of your back line, I mean, it's just, I mean, you're used to it. But after not being in the ring for so long, once you go back in and hit, I mean, it sucks. And your body just has to go back to a memory. So
that's like some of the first things you learn, like how to take a fall properly.
Yeah.
Like that. I guess it probably to condition yourself, like you're saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, up there at IWAU, the first thing like Josh taught was footwork, and then it was rolls, and then after that it went straight into back bumps, side bumps, front bumps, butt bumps, and then I think it was after you graduated from that class part of it, then you got to do like suplex, arm drags, and then progressed from there. So
yeah. Now, at the wrestling school that you went to, did they focus any on, like promo work or anything like that?
No, I never got. I went through, I think it was like the green shirt phase, and then it was up to the red, and then by that time, we had went from the Knights of Columbus building, and we left there, and then went to a new building that they had just bought, and I got my own ring here at my house, and then that's whenever Tony took over, and Tony just started back from the basics and then went from there. So I never really went through the whole promo process and stuff that you see nowadays that I know Pritchard's school down there in Knoxville, they're very heavily focused on that. And that's a good thing. Like I really wanted to go to that school, and I had the money and I had the time to where I could have done it, and I chose getting a different job over doing that. And that's probably one of the biggest things I've ever regretted within professional wrestling.
Yeah, the school you're talking about's the one that Glenn Jacobs is co-owner of with Tom Pritchard, right?
Yeah.
there in Knoxville. Yeah. And I know that at Davie School, back to Team Ambition, I know that they do a lot of, they have a specific agenda for promo class in and of itself too.
Oh,
I had a
really?
buddy who got I had a buddy who got an invite because he's up at one of the BJJ schools, at a 10th Planet affiliation, and I can't remember what caused the crossover where he, I guess, came into knowing somebody that was involved with the school there. And he said, the Davey would probably really like you because you're a BJJ guy. You're more into technical wrestlers. And he asked him like who the wrestlers he followed when he grew up. And Josh, I'm talking about Jason Skiles, of course. And
Right.
so Jason, yeah. So he had mentioned that he was a very big fan of William Regal and some more technical wrestlers, and Daniel Brian Danielson as well. And he was like, oh, well, Davey will like you a lot since you're a BJJ guy and you're into technical wrestlers. And he's in the process of trying to get his schedule flipped around so he can start going to school there.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I know, and he had shared with me the agenda that they had for their classes and everything. And they had a very similar format to the one that you talked about, where they have like classes. I know like the 3 days a week of classes are kind of formatted where, you got your basics, so like, depending on where you're at, of course, with your training, taking front bumps and back bumps and side bumps, the stuff that you pretty much start out with everywhere, and then progress along. And then they have a specific, like, segmented promo class that they have as well, where they dedicate time to that. And I've always found it kind of fascinating. I don't know if you ever watched, especially like when NXT kind of started, it was trying to be kind of a reality show back in the day.
Yeah.
But they would even show some behind the scenes stuff too, especially when the network launched. They had so much footage and stuff that they had recorded, showing some of those promo classes. I remember when Dusty died, for example, Dusty
Oh,
Rhodes,
yeah.
and they showed some old photos and videos and stuff of him and his promo class. He had his own promo class down there in NXT. So the promo aspect of it, of course, is a very important thing. But I know that you didn't necessarily have promo classes, Ben, but what I see you guys doing in these vignettes is kind of self-promotion 101. And that, at the end of the day, that's the goal. You need to be able to promote yourself, promote your brand and what you've got going on. So I think that you guys' videos are pretty entertaining, quite frankly, even if you're not a pro wrestling fan. Yeah, for sure. And we're definitely going to be sharing some of those so our audience gets a taste of what you guys are doing.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. And so what's kind of the goal here? I know earlier you mentioned the promotion out west in California, right?
Yeah.
That you'd like to work for eventually.
Yeah. Hood Slam.
Do you have other aspirations?
Oh, absolutely. See, I think everybody's main goal when they first start up is you want to go to the WWE. I mean, that's the big
Sure.
one. That's the big payday. But
Right.
over time, like if I could make it onto AEW for a dark match, I would be happy. And if I don't,
Sure.
I'd be happy. Like it doesn't really faze me. Like I want to know at the end of the day that when I finally hang up my boots that I've made people love professional wrestling. And that's what honestly it's all about to me. Like I want the kids to go home happy or mad, either way. I used to always
Feel
want
something.
Oh yeah, that's what you want. You have to get the crowd involved. You want them to feel some type of way by the end of the night. And
Absolutely.
Go home and slam the brother down.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I want them to feel exactly how I felt, 10, 12 years ago when I first got into it. And that's like I didn't even know indie wrestling existed back then until Derek took me and we saw the WOW, which was out in I think it was Farmington or Park Hills. They had a show. And it's funny because guys that were on that show, I've shared locker rooms with them now. So I think it's crazy how the times like just combine later on in life.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, like I saw you, 10, 12 years ago whenever I was like 16, 17 years old. But
yeah, that's got to be
goal,
wild whenever you're experiencing stuff like that.
Oh yeah. But no, if I had an end goal like being on AEW one time, I'd be happy. I'd be happy. If I ever,
Yeah, for sure.
by the grace of God, I ever made it to WWE, well, shit. I guess we've done it.
Yeah, there you go. And that's all it takes sometimes is just the opportunity, your foot in the door. And at the end of the day, honestly, you're always a success as long as you're trying to capitalize on whatever opportunities that you're given.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the worst that you can do whenever you're aspiring for a dream, and I could speak for this from a musical standpoint, and, you know, you could probably speak to this, Ben, as far as where you're at so far in your wrestling career, and that is, you know, you're not going to get opportunities if you say no. And sometimes you do have to go out on the limb and like what you talked about and depicted earlier, you know, working those 12-hour days or so and then going to wrestling class, like, you know, to chase your dreams, sometimes there's some sacrifices that have to be had. And you do have to go out on a limb and you got to do things that, you know, sometimes don't seem like they'll pay off. You never know who's watching, especially in something like this. You know, I know that there's people that go out and scout talent sometimes too, especially right now as things have opened back up and COVID started not to be as much of a concern and we've kind of gotten back to our ways of life, that there's a lot of companies trying to build themselves back up with talent rosters and that sort of stuff. You know, like you see it a lot with WWE. They're bringing back a lot of old faces that they let go right before the pandemic, right during the pandemic, you know, things like that. And some of it might be a PR move, but also at the same time, you know, it takes a lot of cogs in the machine to run these things. People don't realize. And so, but there's a lot of other places out there to work. You know, there's NWA, ran and owned by Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. There's Impact Wrestling, formerly TNA. Hell yeah. And then there's New Japan Pro Wrestling, of course. Now, of course, that's mainly in Japan. However,
Yeah.
There
was a New Japan wrestler at Grandel, wasn't there? Wasn't there a guy from
Rocky Romero.
That's right.
Yep,
that's
Rocky
right.
Romero. So Rocky's kind of more the American side of New Japan, but he works with the head booker Gato over in Japan. And but yeah, so New Japan's another thing. I know that they're always scouting. Rocky in particular is always scouting talent to take over there on the American side of things, and Rocky's often on AEW. AEW has their dark matches and their opportunities. I know, like, I know that, like, there's this guy who randomly, I want to say, emailed Tony Khan or tweeted him or direct messaged him. I remember hearing this story, and I believe it was like on Busted Open or something like that, where he asked for a dark match opportunity, and he ended up getting it. And the guy he had been wrestling or whatever the case is, but like only like locally, like in his proximity of where he lived. I want to say it was in North Carolina, somewhere thereabouts. And I guess he was kind of a routine caller into Busted Open, and they ended up, I guess, connecting him like via email or something with Tony Khan, and he ended up getting to actually wrestle a dark match for them. So I don't know if it made it to YouTube or not, but yeah, he definitely got an opportunity. I think it's when they were in Jacksonville in particular. The guy was like, I will drive. I'll do whatever I got to. And
He's like,
yeah, it was just being persistent. You know, he got the opportunity. So some of it takes
sometimes
persistence.
You got to do that. Yeah.
And yeah, for sure. And the only thing you can turn down is the sheets, brother. You know?
Yeah.
So we talked about some of the goals that you have going forward. I just want to get back into just a little bit, if you've got the time to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you and Derek fleshing out the String Bean character and the Dr. Egon Casanova dynamic, if you will. Is there any future plans with the team that you guys, any strategies you guys got laying in waste that you can reveal to us?
Oh, I mean, we've always got stuff up our sleeves. Currently in my my garden out back, I have more of my exploding sticks that I like to carry to the ring and also happily break over people's backs multiple times throughout a match without getting caught.
Yeah, that's the key.
And, you know, Dr. Egon Casanova has so many elixirs that you never know what he might have up his sleeve that he might slip me at any point throughout that match.
You know, I thought it was kind of interesting earlier. You made the Space Jam reference in the character, and I would have never made that correlation, but it makes all the sense in the world now. Actually, originally, what I kind of thought was a Bane character almost, like with the Bane gets injected, and that's how he kind of hulks up and stuff to quote unquote fight and eventually break Batman's back, if you
like
will.
the old school DC Green.
Oh yeah. Well, see, that was we had the idea that whenever I turned heel, that's what we originally wanted to do. I wanted to come out and have the clamps on my arms, on my shoulder, and then have like a tank on my back. And we were going to try to figure out a way to like have it light up to where it looked like that bright neon green. Now, we're not saying that may never happen.
Right.
But that is something that we have thought about before. And I'm like, oh, if we could pull it off, that would just look sick.
Yeah.
We've got other ideas up our sleeve with stuff like.
Yeah, if you guys could get like a backpack sprayer and just like bust a bunch of green glow sticks and toss them in, maybe fill it up with some water, that'd probably get the desired effect.
It probably
One of
would.
those hand pump ones.
Yep. Well, that's what that's what we use right now. So. Oh.
So, do you guys got any upcoming shows coming up that you can talk about?
Yep. I think it's the 19th, so it should be next Saturday. We will be in Crossville, Illinois, and that is where I will go and face LVK, and I'm going to try to get my title back. Oh,
so
no, I shouldn't say try. I think so, yeah. Okay. It needs to be, because I'm ready to beat him again and get my title back, because I was wrongfully
stripped, right?
Yeah. We'll just say stripped. We'll say stripped. Because it's bullshit that I didn't keep my title. Like, he cheated. He had his hand on the title. He acted like he was going to hit me. And then he threw me the title. Like, why would you throw me the title? And then he rolled me up out of nowhere. Like, I kicked out, but that ref had to have been dirty. And then the commissioner came out, and he got in my way. He got in my way of what I was going to do and suspended us. So I'm out for revenge. I'm going to get what is rightfully mine. And I'm not going to stop until I get it.
This is the investigative journalist inside of me that's squeaking out right now. So I got to hammer down and ask how a 6'5", 250-pound man ends up the light heavyweight champion. Seems like you should be in the heavyweight or super heavyweight.
You take what you can get in life.
Oh, okay.
When life hands you lemons, you become the SNPW light heavyweight champion. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Attaboy.
Yep.
So, what are the chances that we get to see you and Dr. Egon in a tag match in the future?
I see that happening in the future. I know that we have talked about, the father and son aspect, going out and being a tag team. Maybe we'd be called like Weird Science or something, come out to Bango Tango.
Ooh, there you go.
But,
I like it too.
I see it happening. I see a tag team match happening in the future.
Hell yeah. And so, now, correct me if I'm wrong, the suspension that you're coming back from, is this because you interacted with an official in an inappropriate manner? Or
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So what
when I say inappropriate, I'm not saying that you raped him or anything. But...
No, God, no. Get your mind out of the gutter. No. I used one of my exploding sticks and took it out on LVK. The commissioner came out and decided to get in my face, and I grabbed the hold of him and started yelling back at him, and I let my temper get the best of me, and he suspended me for 2 shows. Unfortunately,
so for putting your hands on an official, you got suspended 2 shows.
Yep.
Any fines?
Oh yeah, I have no money right now.
Yeah.
None. Egon might, but I've drank myself completely with my Miracle Grow. I just keep drinking and drinking. So.
There you go.
No money in my bank account.
I understand. Hey, man, it takes a lot of fuel to run that engine.
No, it does.
Sure.
It does.
Well, Ben, it was a pleasure having you on today. I appreciate the time. Absolutely. And we're really excited about getting your stuff out there for our audience to see a little bit more so. So we're going to be sharing some of the promotional videos that you guys done, the vignettes. And I know you guys have some matches up online as well we'll be sharing. And then hopefully we can get some people come out to your guys' show. It'd be a good time. I know.
Oh yeah, that'd be an
it's-
awesome time.
I know we're all in the Farmington area, so how long is that from Farmington? Would you say about 3 hours more?
I think so. I think Derek said it was probably. I think it's like 3 hours that he drives.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably 3. Yeah.
That's not terrible.
No, it's not
No.
terrible. No, not at all. And but yeah, being the promotion, like the promotion seems pretty solid and from the videos that I've seen. Seems like you guys have got some good talent there to work with as well.
Oh yeah.
And you know, sometimes I feel the need to say that though because you know people hear independent wrestling and not the best conclusions or assumptions are made sometimes,
Oh,
especially if
yeah.
people have had
No.
bad experiences in the past. You know, I can only speak to the ones that I've been to, but I know, for example, like Grandel that we were just at was a 5-star independent promotion. Everything was ran extremely professional, but it also looks like you guys are getting kind of that same treatment.
Yeah. No, it's SNPW. It's definitely better than what it used to be. It used to be pretty wild probably back whenever I started going there, probably 6 years ago. Some of the guys that worked there were very outlawish. They really didn't care what really happened, and they did what they wanted to, and it hurt us in a way because we were not allowed to go to a couple different like places. Like I think it was like Carmi and some other towns, and thankfully now that they've been weeded out.
Yeah. Pun intended.
SNPW is no pun intended. SNPW's finally started to go in the direction that it's needing to. So
Yeah, and whenever you say outlawish, I just want to anybody of our fans that's not real familiar with that lingo, you're probably alluding to the fact that they were doing very careless and reckless things, such as perhaps getting a little too violent or aggressive in matches, perhaps interacting with the audience in a way that they shouldn't have. Just those sorts of things, creating a ruckus in the neighborhood and that sort of thing. So, and it is a bad thing that runs with some wrestling sometimes. If anybody's not real familiar with like what independent promotions are out there now, something I could draw a lot of people to that there is plenty of footage out there. It's kind of alluding to some of the things that we're talking about. I'm not saying that they're shitty places, but stuff that happens like at a CZW show or GCW, like there's a lot of like light tubes and just like real crazy stuff. You see the thumbtacks sometimes, but even on like major television, they're starting to move away from that. And there's a bunch of other examples, sheets and panes of glass. There's all kinds of stuff that we could throw out there, barbed wire, da-da-da-da-da. So those types of things sometimes are brought out to add a layer of entertainment, and it's fine if there's a story to go with that. At least this is, a wrestling fan's opinion. And it's worked into a match and not gratuitously overdone. So like there's a story to it, for example. Like if there's a big blow off, like you're having some huge feud with somebody. So, a lifetime feud, like a long feud with someone. So like, let's say a lot of personal things happen. So anybody that's ever watched wrestling, you could probably go back and call like, Undertaker and Stone Cold. How many matches did they have against each other? Legendary rivalry, Stone Cold and The Rock. Like after a significant amount of time, you might build to something like that, like a no disqualification or whatever the case is. But to have that like right out the gate, a cold match, an independent match like this, especially what these guys get paid, the insurances that the promoters can carry, there's just a lot of just silly stuff sometimes people do just to get, I hate to even say 15 minutes of fame, but I guess viral for 50. I don't really know what people's
just to get a
intent are
pop.
with that. Yeah, just to get a cheap pop, really, quite frankly. Yeah. So, and like these guys are putting their bodies on the line. So I would highly encourage a lot of people. While that might be entertaining for a one-off type thing, like this is not the way like wrestling should go. There's an art form to it. And more of it's about what we've talked about with Ben today, and that's engaging the crowd, drawing the crowd in, engaging the fans, make people enjoy professional wrestling. So like what Ben's doing, he's got a character here, string bean that we're talking about today. And, that's something you can sink your teeth into, especially even on a promotional level like this.
Right,
they're doing cool stuff. Yeah, they're doing cool stuff online, doing little fun videos and that sort of stuff, working angles in the promotion. So this is the type of stuff that we encourage folks to check out.
Now I do have a funny thumbtack story since you did mention stuff like
Hey,
that.
let's hear it. Let's hear it before you go.
So this is probably 2017. I'm in a tag match. It's a steel cage, and it was me and Dice Patterson versus Barney and Mario at the time. Now, not, Barney the dinosaur and Wahoo little Mario. No, this is 2 other guys. So before the match, I told him, I said, I want to do a thumbtack spot, but it's not going to be thumbtacks. I'm going to have the bag. I'm going to make the illusion that I have it, but it's going to be mixed vegetables. It's going to be lettuce.
There you
Like with the whole gimmick, God of the garden. Like, why would I use that?
go. Right.
The stuff in my garden can hurt you. So we have it in the ring, and we've got both the guys down. Dice yells, "Who wants thumbtacks?" Crowd goes nuts. So I yell, "Who wants thumbtacks?" So then he goes, "Who wants some fucking thumbtacks?" So I hold the bag up, and I just pour it out. I pour it out everywhere. We set the guy up in the corner, and we give him a big superplex onto the thumbtacks.
Right.
So he's selling it. There's lettuce on his back, and I guess the word got to the locker room that we use thumbtacks, and no one had approved that. So one of the guys in the back, Chris Mack, I love the guy, big black guy, he was pissed. He was pissed because his match was next, and you don't really want to work after thumbtacks because some of them can still be out there, and then you kind of get the shaft with it.
Right.
Match gets done. We go in the back, and he is in my face yelling. And I'm just standing there laughing my ass off, and I hold out my hand, and I said, "Man, let us be friends." And he's like, "What?" And I said, "Let us be friends." And the locker room's dying, and I guess he broke 8 steel chairs in the back locker room, just busting them up against the ground because he was so pissed. And when he finally realizes that I use lettuce, he could not stop dying laughing.
Oh my God.
And that is the only time that I've no, I can't say that. I've used mixed vegetables in a hardcore match for a feud that I had last year with DD Jinx. I did break those out again, and I gave a TKO onto it. So,
There you go.
but yeah, let us be friends.
Let us be friends.
Let's be friends. Yep.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, when it comes to the thumbtacks, man, I don't envy any of you guys that ever do take spots on the thumbtacks. I can't say that sounds too appealing to me. I think I'll pass on that one.
I don't even think I can get slammed down on the ring, so I could do that shit you guys do. So
I just walk across the floor, step on one of my son's logos, and I'm screaming like a little bitch.
Oh yeah, that's
your feet.
no, that's I can't say I've done Legos or anything, but I've done I like see, and that's the thing. If I'm gonna do a gimmick match, if I'm gonna do hardcore, I want to incorporate stuff that actually goes with my gimmick. So I did a spot where I did a clothesline, a pull-in clothesline. So I put a garden hose, I wrapped it around the guy, and I pulled him in and gave him a big clothesline, like a ripcord clothesline with a garden hose. So I mean, it's stuff like that. Like my whole gimmick is character driven, and that's what I try to focus on more is over the top.
Yeah,
I'm a vegetable. Like nobody else is out there being a vegetable.
Right.
So
yeah,
I've got to do what I've got to do.
right.
At the
you
end
you gotta own your shit, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because everybody out there, it's like you either want to be the cool guy, you want to be the bad guy, or it's just you want to be some sexy dude or whatever.
Right.
That's what it is. You have to be original. That's what it comes down to. Is there's so many imposters. Be original. Try to be as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And I don't know.
That's one of the things that's one of the things you can control is what you put out there. Right. So again, it's just adding to the character, adding to the presentation, and the more that you're giving people to chew on, the more the people are going to come back, the more the people are going to pay attention to you, and so on and so forth. So I really do think that it's a pretty funny gimmick that you guys got going on. Entertaining, definitely worth checking out. I can't encourage people enough to check it out. Before we get you off of here, one last question for you. What are you liking today? What promotion are you following the most? Who are your favorite wrestlers? Give somebody something to watch.
I try to watch AEW as much as possible, just because it's such a different take on it. I guess it's newer guys that are in, coming out of the independents, the Acclaimed. I mean, everybody loves the Acclaimed, so
yeah.
Those two are probably my favorites. Oh yeah, those two are probably my favorite guys right now. It's just because they live their gimmick with it. I mean, they literally, they own it, and
for sure.
I mean, it works. And then you've got Daddy Ass and everything else. It's
yes, sir.
And then of course, I'll still watch WWE, but I don't watch a whole lot. I mean, it's not what it was for me 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Sure.
But I do. I listen to a lot of the podcasts and stuff like that, and I try to find some of the snippets, and I'll do watch wrestling and try to pick up on some of the pay-per-views and stuff. But
and just out of curiosity, what podcasts are you listening to?
Jericho's. I started listening to you guys, obviously.
Thank you, sir.
I listen to a lot of supernatural podcasts. So
okay, nothing wrong with that. Josh is a fan of supernatural stuff. What are you listening to?
Haunted AF. They're pretty funny. I think it's Dogman Encounters. He's pretty good.
Dogman.
Yep. So
I'm into that shit. Anything paranormal, supernatural, aliens, all that. That's my big passion is I'm a true crime freak too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
Hence why we have a true crime sub-series on our own podcast where we do the cults, killers, and conspiracy stuff. So but yeah, man, I enjoy AEW myself. I'm always for the little engine in many respects, but I will say WWE's starting to turn it back around. I feel like now that Triple H is in charge, in particular,
thankfully.
You can start to see his fingerprints on things more and more, and I think it's just going to progressively get better. And some of the best stuff going on right now, in my opinion, is anything bloodline related and everything. They just got stories inside of stories, and Sami Zayn's about to take off, be the biggest wrestler in the entire business. I think.
I'm looking forward to that. He's finally going to get what he deserves, and
absolutely.
Oh, it's going to be so nice. It's going to be well worth the wait.
I know some people shit on it, but I thought his match with Johnny Knoxville was pretty entertaining at WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
I don't normally like that type of stuff because it's just, silly gaga type shit, but he made it entertaining himself.
The shit leading up to that was so great too.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought it was well planned out. I enjoyed it.
Sure.
I was like, oh man, how's this going to go? And then it actually, it was entertaining. That's what it's sports entertainment.
Right.
It's not just wrestling. If it's wrestling, then I think of high school wrestling, collegiate wrestling, but this is sports entertainment. And that's what we do. We're there to entertain everybody else.
Absolutely. 100%. And you got to always keep that in the focus. And I think you'll do big things, Ben, if you just keep kind of sticking to what you guys are doing right now and just taking every opportunity you guys got.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a walking, talking vegetable. I'm not a guy out there.
What can go wrong?
Yeah, literally. I mean,
we need
worst thing that could happen is I turn into an actual vegetable, and
I think we need Michelle Obama to run for president, and she needs to get back on her health plan, and she's going to hire you as the health czar. So they're going to take all the snack food vending out of schools. You're going to be going around to schools giving inspirational speeches. Yeah. Throw that
as long as I get paid, I don't care what I do.
Hey man, it's a government job, so as long as we got lobbyists and everything else, I think you got it made, brother.
Oh yeah, I can retire in 20 years and be done.
Oh, probably quicker than that. Some of these bitches have one term and they're rich for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Literally.
Well, Ben, thank you for your time today. We're going to be promoting your stuff. We're definitely going to get some people, get some more eyes on your guys' product. Hopefully, we can throw you at least a few new fans. At the end of the day, that's kind of part of the reason of the show and why we have guests on is we try to promote people that are from the area or have some kind of connection to the area, whether that's, anywhere from here to down to Cape and all the way up to St. Louis. We've got a lot of friends that are doing a lot of cool things out there, and we want to get a spotlight on them and let people know that, like, hey, doesn't matter where you're from. If you got dreams, let's chase them and let's get the word out.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me on here.
Yes, sir. We appreciate the time, and we look forward to catching you sometime.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck
All
on
right.
the match, man. Hope you get that title back.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, no joke.
Get that light heavyweight title back, brother. Let's bring it home.
Ain't solve until I get it.
All right.
We'll see you.
Take care.
See ya.
Hey, this is Josh from ATI Podcast. For show updates and news about the podcast, follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/ATI Podcast 22, on Twitter at podcast_ATI, on Instagram at the ATI Podcast, on TikTok at ATI Podcast. DMs are always welcome. Have a question for the show? You can always email us at atipodcastquestions@gmail.com. Stay safe out there.